And so he started to tell me. And none of it made any sense to me, but it made sense to him. Another learning point. Another person's perspective, even if it's not real to you, is real to them.
Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry. Today's guest is Jeff Owens. Jeff delivers proven strategies that increase connection, influence, and collaboration. He's a former hostage negotiator, police division commander, and a business executive. He brings real-world experience and insight into every program he does. He's a certified threat manager. There will be no threats on today's podcast, I promise. Certified speaking professional, two-time Speakers Hall of Fame inductee, and was honored in 2024 as Hawaii's top cop. Jeff, welcome to the Fry Your Chickens podcast.
It is a great pleasure to be here. I like being invited to parties. So if you throw one and invite me, I'll prove I'm a great guest.
I can attest to that because Jeff and I hung out in New Orleans earlier this year at a speakers mastermind, and we had a fantastic time.
We had a great time. When you said there will be no threats on here, speak for yourself.
Well, and I won't name names, but Dale Irvin is not on this podcast, so we should be all right.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Dale is a future guest, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
So this may be the calmest guest I've ever had because you are a hostage negotiator. Let me ask you, what's one moment from your time as a hostage negotiator that still sticks with you?
Got to go back to the very, very beginning. When I first became a hostage negotiator, we actually had no formal training and no formal program. This was the early days. In fact, hostage negotiation was kind of innovative. And a little bit controversial in law enforcement. In point of fact, the way we would deal with violence in those days is we'd bring more violence into the situation that's already there. Our violence overpowers their violence, we win. But sometimes people got hurt in the process. So I had gone to my boss. I was a detective at the time, and I was in the criminal investigation division. I went to my boss, the major. I said, hey, there's this new idea that we actually talk to the bad guys and see if they'll give up. And he's like, look, Owens, if you want to give it a try, give it a try. But there's no real program. I'm not going to pay you overtime. And if anything goes bad, you and I never had this conversation. Yeah, thanks, boss. This is great. So I let it be known that, if you had a situation out there on the streets, you could call me and I'll see what I could do. So I started getting calls, usually from the officers out on the street, at 0:30 in the morning when people are too drunk, too emotional, or both, and do really stupid things like not let somebody out of the house or apartment because they're having a big fight, or the crook is too stupid to get away before the cops arrive. And by the time I get the call, wake up, get dressed, drive to wherever this is, this person has started to calm down, sober up a little bit, realize they're in a situation they don't really want to be in. And I essentially just needed to find them a face-saving way out of a situation they didn't want to be in. So over a short period of time, I kind of developed a spiel. I get on site, I get on the phone with the person. Hey, my name is Owens. I'm with the police department. I'm here to work with you on this situation. So what's going on? How did this happen? And they would talk to me. And I would listen to them, a little bit of active listening skills, that sort of thing. And after a while, I'd be like, well, why don't you just go ahead and let the other person come out? I mean, this is just too big of a hassle. And they would. I'm like, well, I'm kind of good at this. And then I talk to them a little bit more. And I'm like, well, you know what? Yeah, there's going to be consequences, but nothing really serious happened. Just come on out. Let's go ahead and resolve this. And they would. So I started to think I was pretty good at this stuff. Now, quick learning point in here. Couple of things that I learned from that I'll share right now in the middle of the story. One is very often in conflict situations, people have put themselves into a situation they really don't want to be in. It was an emotional response to a circumstance of the moment. So oftentimes to resolve that, all you really need to do is give them a face-saving way out. And the best way to do that is through active listening to gain the information so you can formulate your response. Jumping back into the story. So one day I got a call, and this call didn't come at 0:30 in the morning. This came at 10:07 in the morning, and it didn't come from an officer on the street. It came from the lieutenant of the SWAT team who had never called me before because this was all new in the Honolulu Police Department. And he's like, "Hey, Owens, we got this situation down at the harbor. Had a guy, he fired some shots at people randomly. He didn't hit anybody. We got the place isolated. Snipers in place. They could take him out. But the commander says I'm supposed to call you. Like, you're going to come down here and talk to him? Hey, I'm sure that's not going to happen." I said, "Oh, yes, it is. I'm going to come down there. I'll talk to him. He'll give up, and I'll be the hero." So I jump in my car. I go blazing down to the harbor, jump out of my car, look for the first officer. "Where is this guy?" "Oh, he's around the corner, Detective Owens." "Okay, listen, I'll go talk." "Hey, Detective Owens. Hey, don't worry, I'm going to talk to him. But Detective Owens, hey, I'm the negotiator. I know what I'm doing. Let me do my job." Many people are very good at being passive aggressive. The officer is like, "Okay." Now, what should have been a clue to me as a detective is everybody was standing behind hard things. So I walk right up to this guy, just a few feet away from him, face to face, and I go, "My name is Owens. I'm with the police department. I'm here to work with you on this situation. So what's going on? How did we end up here?" At which point in time, he's supposed to be getting ready to give up, but nobody told him. So instead, he reaches behind him, he pulls out the gun, and he pulls it right in my face. And he starts to yell and scream and swear and call me every name in the book, insulting me, attacking my dignity, embarrassing me. And what did I want to do? The exact same thing that everybody listening would want to do when somebody gets in their face, rude, confrontational, and insulting. I wanted to give it back to him. I wanted to put him in a place, tell him off. "Hey, you can't talk to me like that. I'm the cop, you're the crook. I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy. You got the gun and I don't." Because there's no way I'm going to pull my gun out of my holster before I pull the trigger.
Mm.
So I did the only thing I could do. And to this day, I literally don't remember the exact words I used. But I just started talking to him and asking questions. "Hey, man, I didn't come out here with my gun on you. You don't need your gun on me. I respect you as a human being. I respect you as a man. And you know what? So tell me, what's going on? There's a reason for what's happening here. I want to know. I want to hear from you what's going on." And so he started to tell me. And none of it made any sense to me, but it made sense to him. Another learning point. Another person's perspective, even if it's not real to you, is real to them. So I started listening to everything he had to say, get active listening, encouraging him to tell me more. After a while of his venting, I was able to say, "You know what? Why don't you put the gun down and let's go ahead and resolve this situation?" And he did.
Wow.
Everybody's like, "Oh, Owens, you're the hero. This is fantastic." They take this guy, put him under arrest, they take him away, and, "Hey, great job, Detective One. Fantastic, incredible." And I'm like, "Yeah, wonderful." And everybody left, and I literally collapsed, sitting on the ground next to my car, covered in cold sweat, because it had suddenly hit me. I almost died.
Right.
I had almost died. And I thought to myself, well, what did I do to get out of this situation? Because I'm dumb enough, I'll probably put myself in that situation again. But actually, my thought was, well, what did I do to get out of that situation? And after a lot of thought, I mean, days of contemplation, it occurred to me it's not what I had done, it's what I had not done. And what I didn't do was return the disrespect, the anger, the frustration, the hurt that he was had in him that he was putting onto me. I did not embarrass him, attack his dignity, or insult him in any way. Instead, I treated him with respect. Not that I wanted to, not that he deserved it,
Hmm.
not that he earned it, but I had no choice. And from that became the foundation of what I speak on, what I train on, and what I try to apply to the best of my ability. And that is the power of respect. Deal with situations, deal with actions, deal with behaviors in a manner that does not embarrass, humiliate, or attack the dignity of the individual. The power of respect can resolve many, many of our issues and problems. So that is a story that was seminal to me, that really woke me up and changed how I interacted with people moving forward. And I found that applying these same concepts, asking the why, what, and how questions. I have a little meme that I use. Why informs what empowers how allows you to act on why. I needed to know his why. Why was he in that situation? What was the contributing factors? What were the motivators? What were the inhibitors? With that knowledge, what do I need to do to more effectively interact? How can I now apply that? And we can use that in all of our conflict situations. We can use that in all of our leadership situations to apply the why, what, and how, and the power of respect.
It seems to me that there is a big lack of respect in the general public today, be it in the media, on social media, you name it. Tell me more about what respect means.
One of the things I tell people when I talk with people, well, what do you talk on? And I'll say, I talk on using the power of respect. And they go, well, that's really, really cool. What does that mean? And it just means just being nice to people? It absolutely not. Respect is not just about being nice. Respect is a strategic skill that we can apply to influence other people to make the decisions we want them to make to achieve the outcomes we want to achieve. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
As well, you should. I'm going to tell you right now, that sounds like something that pretty much everybody in the world could use right now. And going back to your story, here's what I love. You take life and death situations and lessons and you make them safe and funny for the rest of us. And that is a great skill. And I'm guessing that helps your message land better, doesn't it?
It does. I find that if you can, because you can get too heavy into these things, right? And then people put up resistance to learning and receiving the message. This is one of the things, even in crisis situations that I dealt with as a street cop, as a hostage negotiator, as an executive in the law enforcement field and in the private sector. A lot of times I found if you can insert just a little bit of humor, if you can get that person to smile just a little bit, then it makes it easier for them to receive the message.
Tell me about winning Hawaii's top cop.
So there's an organization, which is the Law Enforcement and Security Coalition of Hawaii. And every year they put on a annual banquet type of a thing to recognize and honor people in the law enforcement and security fields who've made some kind of significant contribution. And so there's a bunch of people that get recognized for, doing something really good. And call it the Top Cop Award is the Elwood J. McGuire Award. And that's considered the top cop award. So I got this phone call saying, Jeff, our board met and you were they unanimously decided that you are going to be the recipient of this year's Top Cop Award. And it had to do with, I guess, not what I'd done so much as a police officer, because I've been retired for a very long time from the law enforcement field, but I've used the skills that I developed both in law enforcement and in private security to try to contribute to law enforcement, security, emergency management, um, because those are all so important to the quality of life in our communities. So I have volunteered a lot of time. I've written programs. I've done training to try to help advance those professions because they contribute to the quality of life in our community. So apparently they thought that was a good thing and they gave me that award.
I think they were right. And and you can say that too. They gave me that award and they were right. They should have done it earlier.
Absolutely. They were right. What took them so long?
You retired from being a cop. And did you just move into speaking right then, or what was the transition like to from police officer detective to international keynote speaker?
Well, it was an evolutionary process would be a really cool way to say it. So what happened is when I retired from the police department, I actually was the rank of major and I was a division commander. So I'd applied the skills I learned off the streets about how to deal with people effectively, and that helped me to advance my career in the police department. So prior to retiring, I was already doing speaking on a small level. So got to go back a little bit. That I've always been a ham. I'm always the guy like, hey, look at me, look at me. And I was the guy that when I was even early on in my career in the department, you get into lineup and the sergeant be like, okay, here's your assignments. And by the way, we have a request from a community group to have a speaker on blah, blah. And everybody else is like stepping back and looking the other way. And me, I'm like, me, I'll go. So I really enjoyed talking to groups of people. So the department started to call on me to talk to groups of people. Then kind of a unique thing happened. So the whole issue of workplace violence, which has actually been around forever, started to become more and more uh, apparent in the public conscience. There had been a number of major incidences where workplace violence was becoming an issue. So I started getting calls from people in the community because of my background as a hostage and crisis negotiator and dealing with conflict situations, if I could come and talk to them about scary people in the workplace, which later on became workplace violence topics.
Hmm.
So I put in a request, could I do this as a sideline, and I got ethics clearance to do that. And so I started just a little bit here and there. Okay. So when I retired from the police department, my initial thought is, well, I will do training and consulting on workplace violence because I'd become a so-called recognized expert in that. I mixed in a whole bunch of other things because coming out of a police background into the private sector, so I did a bunch of stuff in addition to speaking and training. Got licensed as a private detective. I was doing private detective work on the side, but it all eventually kind of just gravitated to me doing a lot of training on workplace violence and speaking locally here on it. And then I started to realize that, well, there's a lot of factors that contribute to workplace violence. Um, Poor leadership skills, poor communication, inability to deal with conflict effectively, right? Um, Lack of respect for
Right.
one another in the workplace, right? So there's all these things. So I started breaking out into additional topics: leadership skills, communication skills, sexual harassment, unlawful discrimination, because all of those are disrespect in action. And that's how I kind of just started growing and growing into the speaking field. Over a period of time, I just started speaking is all that I do now.
I love the way that you can tie all that back to just a lack of respect. Disrespect
Yeah.
causes so many problems.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about, yeah, it seems like it's such a big deal in our global community now. And it's true, and not getting political at all. But the reality is, those people in leadership positions in our country, other countries, are those people in leadership positions that we've always looked up to be the models for diplomacy and discretion, the ability to have respectful disagreements. That model has fallen apart.
Yeah.
And now we have people setting a model of vilification, a model of disrespect, and that is trickling down through society. And so it's become more and more of an issue. One of the most popular talks I'm asked to speak on now is creating the organizational culture of civility, which is another word for respect,
Right.
right? Yeah, because that is disappearing. And we need to be able to have respectful disagreements, be able to deal with our conflict in a manner that does not disrespect the other people, to be civil with one another.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That is so important, so critical. You're absolutely right. I have to remind myself that if somebody has a different opinion than me, be it political, religious, you name it, they probably came to that opinion from a good perspective. Just because we disagree doesn't make them a bad person for the path they took to get to their conclusion.
absolutely.
99% of the time, people come to their opinions from a good heart, from a good perspective. They feel that this is the right thing. And when we start
Absolutely.
vilifying, it really causes division, causes all sorts of problems. So I'm really glad to see that. I don't know if you ever thought when you retired that you'd get paid good money to teach people to not be jerks, but hey, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, no, I did not. And you're right, though. And like I mentioned earlier, the other person's perspective is real to them. And like you say, they usually came to it from a good place, or sometimes, a series of things that cause them to become emotional. But you're right, people's positions politically, religiously, and all these other things often start because, like you say, they came from good heart. And one of the things is like, just because they're different doesn't mean they're wrong.
Exactly.
It's just different. And, sometimes if we're willing to open up our own viewpoint and say, well, listen, Phil, yeah, I don't understand your perspective at all. I think, matter of fact, I highly disagree with it, but wait a minute, let me learn more about it. Maybe there's something there I can learn from that will make me be a little bit better. And if we can be willing to listen to the other person's perspectives, we don't always have to agree with it, but we can learn the why behind the why. The why, what, and how. Almost
Right.
always there's a why behind the why, and we can learn from that. Now, I was raised in Hawaii. This is an example of, just because it's different, isn't it wrong? Different perspectives. So in Hawaii, we're taught to take your shoes off before you walk in somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered respectful. Walking in with their dirty shoes, that's not very respectful. If I go to North Carolina and take my shoes off when I walk in a stranger's house, they're going to be looking at me a little bit funny because they have a different perspective. So
Yep.
again, being different is not the same as being wrong. It's just different.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that example. Growing up, we had to take our shoes off before we came in the house
Yep. Much
because
more comfortable too.
rain, mud, etc. Yes.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Ohio, so we had winters. And if you and I were debating Ohio versus Hawaii, I'm not even going to take on that debate because your weather is way better than ours.
Yeah, I will admit we do have a bit of a weather advantage.
Yeah, you do. And what you were saying kind of goes back to conflict management. Any conflict management model I've seen says if we have a disagreement, I need to get your point of view, actively listen, and understand. I don't. At the end, I don't say, Jeff, you're right, I'm wrong. But Jeff, if I'm understanding what you're saying, it's this. It's all that active listening. It's all that empathy that can then make us address the conflict, and we may walk away at the end and go, you know what? We're just going to agree to disagree on this one,
Mhm,
but we
mhm.
haven't lost the respect or the friendship.
Absolutely. And that's kind of a key to negotiation, a key to conflict resolution is understand the other side's perspective. How can I adequately address it if I don't understand it?
Yeah.
So but here's one of the big problems people have. So people get into a situation, and this often applies a lot in leadership positions, where one side presumes that the other side understands their perspective. And the other side is presuming that the other one understands their perspective. The problem is, neither one of them understand each other's perspective. So it results in miscommunication, misunderstandings, conflict and friction and in leadership positions, then failure to get your message across effectively so that people can apply what you want them to apply, etc. So if we have that conscious awareness that the other person may not have my perspective, and I certainly don't have theirs, and being willing to receive it, as you just said, maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe I think you're as crazy as bats in the belfry, but I'm willing to understand where you're coming from. So now I can figure out what are your inhibitors, what are your motivators, what can I do to address that, and how can I apply that effectively?
That's great, Jeff. And if you know me, you know I'm a bit of a ChatGPT geek. So
Okay.
if you are out there and you don't think you're ready yet, maybe the chickens are saying, I'm not ready to have that conflict management discussion. And I know you've got one, right? Yes, absolutely. All right. So maybe they're saying, you can't, I'm not ready to have that discussion yet. This is a great use case for ChatGPT. Copy in something that somebody said on social media that you don't agree with. And then tell ChatGPT, I do not agree with this, but I want to assume that they are coming from a good place. Please be that person, come from a good place, and explain to me how they might feel the way they feel, and get warmed up with a few of those. And I've done that, and it's very powerful. Never have I ever said, okay, I'm going to completely agree with what that person posted, but it gives me the path to see, okay, I understand they're coming from a good place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably a good way to go about it.
It's low risk,
Yeah.
and if you're really
Well,
worried about
I'm
it,
sure it'll give a lot of insight,
yeah,
especially if the person has trained that ChatGPT or whatever to understand them and
yep,
their perspective of things. It would give them a much more accurate uh, how to respond to that. That's a cool idea.
absolutely. Yeah, it's good for practicing. And you can always put it on private mode if you're worried about anybody seeing what you're asking ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, this is the question, a ChatGPT generated question that we ask all the guests here on Fry Your Chickens. But I'm going to give you an option to take it a different direction. So here's the first, the basic question. Which would you rather fight? A horse-sized rubber chicken or 100 rubber chicken-sized horses? And if you prefer, you can also, or instead of, answer, which would you rather negotiate with? A horse-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized horses? And if I said rubber chicken the first time, it's an actual chicken that's the size of a horse.
All right. I'm going to answer it in two parts. The first part is I would select or choose the horse-sized chicken because now I am dealing with one large problem to which I can devote my full attention, my full concentration to the problem resolution. But the second part of my answer is it actually doesn't matter. You're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're going to be fighting a horse-sized chicken. At the same time, you're fighting 100 chicken-sized horses because of this. How do you deal with a major, significant problem or issue? And this is what I would do as a negotiator. You break it down to the component elements. And so that one large problem is actually the accumulation of multiple smaller component issues. So when you're addressing that large problem, you break it down to the component issues and you find you're dealing with 100 chicken-sized horses. So in both cases, now you have to do the same thing. Now that I've identified the various issues that are comprising this gigantic chicken and how I'm going to cook this guy, now you say, okay, I've identified all of the little issues that make up the giant issue. Now I need to prioritize them and then move to align them so I can address them sequentially in the order of prioritization. So I would choose the giant chicken. The giant chicken, but at the same time, I'm dealing with 100 chicken-sized horses.
Love it. I keep asking this question because I keep getting new and unique takes on it. So thank you for playing along. The next section is the 3 random questions. ChatGPT has generated 3 random questions. I have not looked at them yet. You obviously have not seen them yet. I'm going to ask you them one at a time. You can either answer or pass it back to me.
Can I call a friend? Poll the audience?
That's another game show. I know all about it. Okay, if you could negotiate peace between any 2 fictional characters, who would it be?
I can think of real characters. The fictional is a challenge. Okay. How about, and you got to be a little bit older to be able to relate to this one. How's about the Star Trek
Oh,
I can't say the word, galactic organization versus the Klingons? If I could negotiate peace between the galactic organization and the Klingons, I would negotiate that.
that was very impressive. And actually, if you went to Star Trek The Next Generation, they were working together. So there must have been, in the future, a Jeff Owens type character that negotiated the peace between the 2.
Oh my God, I didn't realize I'm a time traveler.
You are. That is amazing. That is a much deeper answer than mine. I was going to try maybe Roadrunner and Coyote because I'm just so.
Oh no, I love the conflict they have. I don't want to end it. It's way too entertaining.
I don't want to end it either, but my God, how many coyotes are they killing? Would you rather fight 1 Roadrunner or 100 coyotes? Because that's how much time every episode.
I'll take the coyotes any day.
Well, and I initially thought Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, but no way. That conflict must remain.
That must remain. The universe demands it.
Exactly. So your answer wins. What's a piece of advice that seemed crazy to you at the time, but turned out to be gold?
I know what my answer is. I'm trying to formulate the answer well. And that is, when you are verbally attacked, don't defend.
Wow.
Do not defend when you're verbally attacked. Physical is a whole different thing.
Sure.
And the reason why it's gold is this, and I realized this, it took a long time before it's like the light bulb to go off. If I defend against the verbal attack, I'm doing a number of things. Number one, I'm giving credibility to the attack. If it's not credible, why the heck would I need to respond to it? Number two is I just handed control of the encounter to the other person, because now I am answering to them, and they can continually control the conversation and the encounter by continually making accusations and verbal attacks that I am focused on responding to their lead. And then the other thing is, and this is probably the most important of all, whatever the issue is that has caused this conflict encounter, we've now moved away from addressing the issue to addressing character and personality. So don't defend against the verbal attacks. You let that slide away, and yeah, you said I'm a big, fat, ugly guy, right? Okay, well, my wife has said I should lose a few pounds. But the issue at hand is, boom, and you just deflect it and move back onto the issue. So that's the piece of advice that turned to gold.
That is gold. All right, this one's back to the silly version. What is your go-to karaoke song when you need to release stress after a tough week?
Well, first off, no person in their right mind would ever want me to sing karaoke. But that said, Summertime from Porgy and Bess.
Very good. Very good.
I love that song.
Mine is Country Roads. because everybody in the bar will start singing and they won't understand just how terrible I am at singing. They hold the microphone out a little. Hey, y'all, you go now. And they all sing West Virginia, and you're off the hook.
Thank you. That's what I'm going to do next time.
Got it. So
we'll do the Hawaii version. West Wahoo.
Is there a Hawaii version?
Well, that's then some plays off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Jamaican version.
Oh, that I haven't heard.
Toots and the Maytals, Country Roads. The more you know. Jeff, what's one chicken you had to fry in your own life, that inner voice that almost held you back?
Learning the difference between control and influence. I have always been a person who, I'm not a control freak. You'll just do as I tell you. No, in reality, I always wanted to have a sense of control. I needed to be the person that was the leader, that was making the decisions. And I always had this, and in reality, artificial sense of control. What I learned is something that I think is relatively profound, if I say so myself. And that is this. And this was the chicken I had to fry. I had to fry the control chicken, that I am the person who can control. Because reality is this. There's only two things in the entire universe that you can control. Your own thoughts and your own actions. And your actions are controlled by your thoughts. Everything else is influence. When I was dealing with a person, whether it was on a street, the barroom brawl, a tragic situation with a person, a negotiation, whatever it is, I can't control them. I cannot control the environment or the situation, but I can influence them. I can influence the environment sometimes, and I can influence the situation. So understanding and frying the control chicken led me to know that I can't control pretty much anything. I can only influence. And that has another serendipity to it, which is this. It means no one can control me unless I allow them to. A lot of people say, well, Jeff, you're really good at maintaining your composure, not getting angry. Listen, I'm a human being. I got emotions. I get angry. I get hurt and all like everybody else. But I regulate that with the awareness that no one can get me upset, angry, or any other, make me do anything unless I give them control of my thoughts and emotions. Because all they can do is influence me. And I can choose to allow them to influence me or choose not to.
That is really good. Jeff, where can we find you online?
My website, which is in the process of being rebuilt, so it'll look like a lot better than it does right now, is my name, jeffreyowens.com, JEFFREYOWENS.com.
And I know you're also on LinkedIn. We will put all of your important links in the show notes. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. I think the lesson I've learned is lead with being calm, respect, laugh when you can. And remember, people, if a hostage negotiator can stay calm, so can you. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Phil.
Hey, it's Phil. Like today's show? Well, you'll clucking love my Fry Your Chickens newsletter on LinkedIn and Substack. Links are in the notes.